Day 7. My water is gone, my compass is broken, and something has been following me for the last 3 hours. This is the story of how I got lost in the Amazon rainforest and how I survived. But first, let me take you back to where it all began. My name is Dr. Sarah Mitchell, and I'm a botanist. Let me explain that word, botanist, a scientist who studies plants. For 5 years, I had been preparing for this expedition. An expedition is a long journey with a specific purpose. My mission was simple: find a rare medicinal plant deep in the Amazon rainforest. The plant was called the ghost orchid because it only blooms once every 10 years, and locals said it could cure diseases. But I would soon learn that the Amazon doesn't give up its secrets easily. Let's learn some important vocabulary before we continue. Dense, thick, packed closely together. Canopy, the upper layer of tree branches in a forest. Trek, a long, difficult journey on foot. Navigate, to find your way from one place to another. It was June 15th when I arrived in Manaus, Brazil. The air was humid. That means it was wet and heavy, making it hard to breathe. The temperature was 35 degrees Celsius, which is 95 degrees Fahrenheit. I hired a local guide named Carlos. He was experienced and knew the jungle like the back of his hand. That's an idiom. It means he knew it very well. Carlos warned me, "The Amazon is beautiful, but it's also dangerous. You must respect it, or it will not let you leave." We packed our supplies. Machete, a large knife used to cut through plants. Waterproof tarp, a sheet to keep rain out. Water purification tablets, pills that make dirty water safe to drink. First aid kit, medical supplies for emergencies. Mosquito netting, fabric that keeps insects away. GPS device, electronic tool that shows your location. Flares, emergency signals that create bright light. On the morning of June 16th, we began our trek into the rainforest. The journey was supposed to take 5 days to reach the area where the ghost orchid grows.
The first 2 days were incredible. The Amazon rainforest is the largest tropical rainforest in the world. It's home to millions of species of plants, animals, and insects. As we walked, Carlos taught me important phrases. Watch your step, meaning be careful where you walk. Stay close, meaning don't go far away. And keep your eyes peeled, meaning look carefully for danger. The canopy above us was so dense that very little sunlight reached the ground. This created an atmosphere that was both beautiful and eerie. That means strange and frightening. We saw amazing wildlife, howler monkeys screaming in the trees, toucans with their colorful beaks, poison dart frogs, tiny, brightly colored and deadly, and army ants marching in massive columns. Carlos explained survival rules. 1, if it's brightly colored, don't touch it. It's probably poisonous. 2, always check your boots before putting them on. Spiders love to hide there. And 3, never drink water directly from the river. You could get parasites.
On the 3rd day, everything changed. We woke up to dark clouds. Carlos looked worried. "A storm is coming," he said. "A big one." Within an hour, the sky opened up. Rain poured down in torrents. That means heavy, powerful streams. The visibility became poor. We could barely see 3 meters ahead. "We need to find shelter," Carlos shouted over the thunder. We found a large tree with exposed roots you can see above the ground. We set up our tarp to create a temporary shelter. A temporary shelter is one that's only used for a short time. The storm lasted for hours. The rain was relentless, continuing without stopping. Rivers began to overflow. The paths we had been following disappeared underwater. Let's learn weather vocabulary. Downpour, very heavy rain. Thunder, the loud sound during a storm. Lightning, the bright flash of electricity in the sky. Flash flood, sudden flooding caused by heavy rain. When the storm finally subsided, that means became less intense, we discovered a problem. Our GPS device was broken. Water had gotten inside it despite the waterproof bag. Carlos remained calm. "Don't worry," he said. "I know these paths. I can navigate by the landmarks." But what Carlos didn't know was that the storm had changed everything. Familiar landmarks were now underwater or destroyed. And neither of us realized we were already lost. On day 4, we should have reached a river crossing that Carlos recognized. But after walking for 6 hours, we found nothing. No river, no crossing, just endless jungle. "This doesn't make sense," Carlos muttered. Muttered means spoke in a low, unclear voice. He pulled out his compass and checked it against the sun's position. His face went pale. "What's wrong?" I asked, my voice trembling, shaking with fear. "We're not where I thought we were," he admitted. "The storm must have disoriented us. We've been walking west instead of north." That's when reality hit me. We were lost, truly lost, in the Amazon rainforest. Let's learn some emotional vocabulary. Panic, sudden, overwhelming fear. Anxious, worried and nervous. Dread, a feeling that something bad will happen. Determined, having a strong intention to succeed. I felt all of these emotions at once, but Carlos, being experienced, gave me important advice. In survival situations, the mind is your most powerful tool. Stay calm, think logically. Panic kills more people than the jungle itself.
We decided to head north, using the sun as our guide. For 2 more days, we trekked through difficult terrain. Terrain means the physical features of land. We had to cross swamps, areas of soft, wet ground, ravines, deep, narrow valleys, and overgrown paths, trails covered with too many plants. Our food supplies were running low. We had been rationing our meals. That means eating smaller amounts to make food last longer. Then, on day 6, disaster struck. Carlos was cutting through thick vegetation, plant growth, with his machete when his foot slipped on wet leaves. He fell down a small embankment, a raised bank of earth, and landed badly. I heard a horrible cracking sound. I rushed down to him. His ankle was twisted at an unnatural angle. It was clearly fractured, broken. "Carlos, don't move," I said. He was in tremendous pain. That means very severe pain. I opened our first aid kit and used our supplies to immobilize his ankle, keep it still so it doesn't get worse. Let's learn medical vocabulary. Swollen, enlarged due to injury. Bruised, discolored from an injury. Bandage, cloth wrapped around an injury. Splint, a support to keep a broken bone still.
Carlos couldn't walk. His ankle was too damaged. We were in a dire situation, extremely serious and urgent. "You need to go get help," Carlos said, his voice weak. "I can't leave you here," I protested. "You have to," he insisted. "Take the compass, head northeast. You should eventually hit the river. Follow it downstream, and you'll find civilization." This was the hardest decision of my life, but I knew he was right. If we both stayed, we would both die. I set up shelter for Carlos, left him half our remaining supplies, and marked the trees around his location with bright orange tape so I could find him again. "I promise I'll come back," I told him. I know you will, he said. Now go. And remember, never give up. And that brings us back to day 7, where our story began. I was now completely alone in the Amazon rainforest. The psychological challenge was immense, extremely large. Being alone in such a dangerous place makes every sound seem like a threat. I had to be methodical, careful, organized, and systematic. Every decision mattered. My priorities became 1. Find water. Humans can only survive 3 days without water. 2. Find food. I needed energy to keep moving. 3. Navigate. Find my way to the river. 4. Avoid danger. Snakes, insects, jaguars, and disease. Let me teach you the rule of 3s.
For survival, you can survive 3 minutes without air. You can survive 3 hours without shelter in harsh conditions. You can survive 3 days without water. You can survive 3 weeks without food. Water was my first priority. I found a stream and used my water purification tablets. While waiting for the water to be safe, I searched for food. Carlos had taught me which plants were safe. Brazil nuts, high in protein, hearts of palm, edible plant cores, acai berries, nutritious purple berries, and plantains, similar to bananas. But I also had to avoid poisonous plants. Mancinial, every part is toxic, castor bean plants, deadly seeds, and belladonna, causes hallucinations. As I walked, I practiced sequential thinking, organizing thoughts in a logical order. First, I check the compass. Then, I look for landmarks. Next, I mark my path so I don't walk in circles. After that, I move forward carefully. Finally, I check the compass again. The jungle was testing me. On day 8, I encountered a bushmaster snake, one of the most venomous snakes in the world. It was coiled on a log, perfectly camouflaged, blended into the surroundings. I remembered Carlos's advice: if you see a snake, freeze. Don't make sudden movements. Back away slowly. I did exactly that. My heart was pounding, beating very fast and hard. The snake watched me, but didn't strike. I carefully moved around it and continued on my way. That night, I heard something following me. Breaking branches, heavy footsteps, something large. Could it be a jaguar, a peccary, or something else? I climbed a tree using vines and slept in the branches, my machete ready. The sounds continued throughout the night, but whatever it was never showed itself. On day 9, I heard the most beautiful sound in the world: running water. Not a stream, but a river. A real river. I pushed through the final wall of vegetation, and there it was, the river Carlos had told me about. I had actually found it. But my relief was short-lived. Didn't last long. The river was wide and fast-moving. I needed to follow it downstream, but walking along the muddy banks was dangerous and slow. I decided to build a raft. Carlos had shown me how to do this. I gathered bamboo poles, strong hollow plants, vines for tying things together, and large leaves for a makeshift sail. Building the raft took hours. My hands were covered in blisters, painful skin bubbles caused by friction. But I couldn't stop. Carlos was depending on me. Let's learn action vocabulary. Lash, tie something tightly with rope. Secure, make something safe and stable. Propel, push or drive forward. Steer, control the direction. I pushed my raft into the water and climbed on. For the first hour, it was smooth sailing. That's an idiom meaning everything went well. But then I heard a sound in the distance, rapids, parts of a river where water flows very fast over rocks.
I tried to steer the raft toward the shore, but the current was too strong. I was heading straight for the rapids. The raft hit the first wave and nearly flipped. Water splashed over me. I held on with all my strength as the raft careened, moved fast and out of control, through the turbulent water, violently moving water. Crack! One of the bamboo poles broke. The raft was coming apart. I saw a large rock ahead. If I hit it, I would capsize, flip over. At the last second, I used my machete as a paddle and pushed away from the rock. Finally, after what felt like forever, the water became calm again. I had survived the rapids, but my raft was damaged. I guided it to shore and pulled myself onto the muddy bank, exhausted. I continued on foot, following the river. My body was exhausted, extremely tired. I had blisters, cuts, insect bites, and I hadn't eaten properly in days. But I couldn't give up, not when I was so close. On day 10, I saw something that made me cry with relief. Smoke. Rising from somewhere downstream. Smoke meant people, civilization. I found new energy and started running. Well, more like stumbling, walking unsteadily, through the jungle toward that smoke. And then I saw it. A small village. People were there. Real people. I emerged from the jungle, and the villagers stared at me in shock. I must have looked terrible, covered in mud, scratched, and barely able to stand. "Help!" I managed to say in Portuguese. "My guide, injured, 3 days back. Please help." The village leader immediately understood. He mobilized a rescue team, organized people to take action. Within an hour, we were heading back upriver in boats with medical supplies. Using my marked trees, we found Carlos. He was weak and dehydrated, having lost too much body water, but alive. The villagers gave him water and medicine, and we transported him back to the village. 3 weeks later, Carlos and I were both back in Manaus, recovering. His ankle would heal completely with time. And I had learned more than I ever imagined. Not just English vocabulary, but lessons about survival, perseverance, continuing despite difficulties, and the power of the human spirit. Did I ever find the ghost orchid? No. But I found something more valuable. The knowledge that when faced with impossible odds, we are stronger than we think. The Amazon rainforest taught me respect, humility, and gratitude. And it taught me that getting lost sometimes helps you find yourself. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the Amazon rainforest. You've learned over 150 vocabulary words, survival phrases, and storytelling techniques, all while following an exciting adventure. If you want more English learning stories like this, please subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell. In the comments below, tell me, what environment would you like to explore in our next story? The desert, mountains, the Arctic, the ocean depths? Remember, never stop learning and never give up. I'll see you in the next adventure.